The email landed in my inbox at 2:37 a.m. A single line in the subject. You deserve to know. My thumb hovered over the screen. The blue glow casting shadows across the bedroom where my wife, Elise, slept soundly beside me. Her soft breaths filled the silence. A rhythm I'd grown to love over 5 years of marriage. But something about that email, from a name I didn't recognize, Evan Kessler, clawed at my gut. I clicked it open, and with each word, the life I thought I knew unraveled like a thread pulled from a sweater. My name is Daniel, and I'm not the type to snoop. I trusted Elise completely. She was my anchor, steady, warm, with a laugh that could pull me out of any storm. We met at a bookstore of all places, both reaching for the same dog-eared copy of The Great Gatsby. Her hazel eyes sparkled as she teased me for my terrible taste in classics, and by the end of that week, we were having coffee, then dinner, then planning a life together. She told me about her past in fragments. A small-town upbringing, a few bad relationships, a fresh start in the city. It was enough. I didn't need a novel. I just needed her. But that email. It wasn't just words, it was a grenade. Evan claimed to be her ex, someone she'd never mentioned. He said they'd been engaged, that she'd left him without a word, and that her name wasn't even Elise back then. He attached photos. A younger Elise, her hair longer, standing arm in arm with him at a beach, her smile wide but unfamiliar. Another of them at a crowded bar, her hand on his chest. And then, a scanned letter in her handwriting, dated 6 years ago, promising him forever. My chest tightened as I read it, each word a blade slicing through the trust I'd built with her. I glanced at her sleeping form, her dark hair fanned across the pillow. The woman I loved looked like a stranger now. How do you confront someone about a past they've buried? How do you ask if the life you've built is a lie? I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in the dark, replaying every moment of our marriage, searching for cracks I'd missed. The next morning, Elise was her usual self, humming as she made coffee, her bare feet padding across the kitchen floor. "You're up early," she said, smiling as she slid a mug toward me. Her voice was soft, but I couldn't meet her eyes. The weight of Evan's email pressed against my ribs, a secret I wasn't ready to share. "Not yet." "Couldn't sleep," I mumbled, stirring my coffee longer than necessary. "Just thinking about some stuff." She tilted her head, her brows knitting together. "Everything okay, Dan? You seem off." I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead I nodded. "Yeah, just work stress." It was a weak lie, and her frown told me she didn't buy it, but she let it go. That was Elise. Always knowing when to push and when to give space. Or so I thought. Over the next few days, I became a detective in my own marriage. I noticed things I'd ignored before. The way she'd changed the subject when her past came up, the locked box in her closet she said was just old junk. The way she'd tense when certain songs played, like they carried memories she didn't want to touch. I didn't confront her. I couldn't. I needed more proof, something to make sense of the storm in my head. I replied to Evan's email, my fingers trembling as I typed. "Tell me everything." He responded within hours, his words cold and precise. Elise, whose real name he claimed was Emily, had been his fiancée for 2 years. They'd lived together, planned a wedding, even picked out names for kids they'd never have. Then one day she was gone. No note, no explanation, just an empty apartment and a ring left on the counter. He'd spent years tracking her down, piecing together her new life. He found me through a mutual friend's social media, saw our wedding photos, and decided I needed to know the truth. Evan sent more evidence, a video of them laughing at a carnival, her voice unmistakably hers, calling him babe. A bank statement showing a joint account I'd never heard of. A text thread where she promised to fix everything before disappearing. Each piece was a brick in a wall between me and the woman I thought I knew. I started pulling away. I couldn't help it. Dinners were quiet, my responses clipped. Elise noticed. "Dan, talk to me," she said one night, her voice cracking as we sat on the couch. "You're acting like I did something wrong." I wanted to laugh, to cry, to shake her and ask why she'd lied. Instead I said, "I'm just tired, Elise. It's nothing." But it wasn't nothing. It was everything. The suspense built like a slow poison. I started checking her phone when she showered, something I'd never done before. There were no messages from Evan, no obvious red flags, but I found an old photo album buried in her cloud storage, password protected. I didn't have the code, but the file name, Old Life, was enough to make my stomach churn. I finally confronted her on a rainy Saturday, the kind of day we'd usually spend curled up with a movie. I couldn't take it anymore, the weight of her secrets suffocating me. I set my laptop on the kitchen table, Evan's email open, the photos glaring at us both. "Elise," I said, my voice shaking. "Who's Evan Kessler?" Her face drained of color. She froze, her coffee mug halfway to her lips. "What? Don't," I said, sharper than I meant. "Don't lie to me again. I know about him. I know you were engaged. I know your name was Emily." She set the mug down, her hands trembling. For a moment, she said nothing, her eyes darting to the laptop screen. Then, in a voice so small I barely recognized it, she whispered, "I can explain." "Then do it," I said, my heart pounding. "Because right now, I don't even know who you are." Her story came out in halting, tear-soaked pieces. Yes, her name had been Emily. Yes, she'd been engaged to Evan. But it wasn't the fairy tale he'd painted. He'd been controlling, manipulative, the kind of man who made her feel small. She'd stayed too long, trapped by guilt and fear, until one day she couldn't anymore. She left, changed her name, and started over. She didn't tell me because she was ashamed, because she wanted to leave that version of herself behind. "I didn't lie about us," she sobbed, reaching for my hand. "Everything with you is real. I love you, Dan. I swear." I pulled my hand away, the betrayal too raw. "You built our life on a lie," I said. "How am I supposed to trust you now?" She cried harder, but I couldn't comfort her. My heart was breaking, but so was my trust. I walked out into the rain, needing air, needing space. The city blurred around me, the sound of rain mixing with the ache in my chest. I loved her, but love wasn't enough when every memory felt tainted. Days turned into weeks. Elise tried to fix things, notes left on the counter, long talks where she bared her soul. She showed me the locked box, filled with mementos from her old life. A photo of her as a teenager, a letter from her mom, the ring she'd left behind. "I kept it to remind myself I was strong enough to leave," she said, her voice raw. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to go back to the days when her laugh was my home. But every time I looked at her, I saw Emily, the woman who'd promised forever to someone else. I saw the photos, the letter, the life she'd hidden. Trust, once broken, doesn't mend easily. Evan kept emailing, his tone growing darker, more obsessive. He wanted her back, he said. He'd never stopped looking for her. I blocked him, but the damage was done. His words had cracked open a truth I couldn't ignore. Elise had run from her past, but it was still chasing her. And now it was chasing us. One night, I made my choice. I sat her down, my hands steady despite the storm inside. "I love you," I said, my voice breaking. "But I can't live wondering what else you're hiding. I need time." Her face crumpled, but she nodded. "I'll wait," she whispered. "As long as it takes." I moved out the next day, my belongings packed into a single suitcase. The apartment felt too big without her, but staying felt like drowning. I rented a small studio across town, spending nights staring at the ceiling, replaying our life together. The bookstore, the coffee dates, the way she'd kiss me like I was her whole world. Was any of it real? Months later, I got a letter, not an email but handwritten, her familiar script on the envelope. She didn't beg me to come back. Instead, she wrote about her therapy, about facing her past, about learning to forgive herself. "I should have told you everything," she wrote. "But I was scared of losing you. I'm still scared. But I'm trying to be the person you deserve." I read it over and over, tears staining the paper. I still loved her. Maybe I always would. But love isn't trust. And trust isn't something you rebuild overnight. I folded the letter, tucked it away, and stepped outside into the crisp autumn air. The city hummed around me, alive with possibility, but my heart was heavy with the weight of what we'd lost. I didn't know if I'd go back. I didn't know if I could. But as I walked, I felt the first stirrings of something new. Not healing, not yet, but a flicker of hope that one day, I'd find my way through the wreckage.